Fortæl lidt om din opvækst og familie og baggrund.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was born in Southern California. Grew up in that area all my life, and my father was born in Texas, and then moved to America with his mother, and grew up in Los Angeles downtown, and then he went to the Vietnam War and was a military man for some years. Then came back to get educated. Met my mother in college, and they got married a couple years later. And then when they were party animals back then, hippie time, and when he found out he was going to be a father, he figured he should change his lifestyle. So he was trying to do that, and in the middle of that, my uncle, his brother, said, "Hey, let me invite you to church." And he grew up. He grew up in the Catholic environment. My grandmother was Catholic. And so he went to this church, and Jesus met him in a special way. He dedicated his life and was on fire for the Lord since. My mother didn't feel the same way. So she left my father while she was still pregnant with me. And they had no communication with each other until the day that my mother gave birth to me, and the doctors called my father and said, "There's troubles with your son. He's been born, but he's not going to live too much longer. His heart has not been fully. It's not pumping the right way. It's eradicated. It's pumping too fast, and we don't know how long it's going to last. So if you want to see him alive, come to the hospital."
Okay. Det var jo en hård besked for din far at få, at du sådan...
Especially as a new Christian.
Faktisk, ja, der var ikke mange muligheder for, at du kunne overleve det der.
No, not at all. No. They said there was actually a hole in my heart. It wasn't fully developed. So when he came in and saw me through the windows with a bunch of cables and whatnots in me, he's a military man. My dad doesn't cry. I like to say he's cried twice in his life, and both times was because of me. Yeah. And so being a new believer, he said he fell down to his knees in tears and said, "Father in heaven, if you'll heal my son and give him a healthy life, I promise to dedicate my life and his to you." And a miracle happened. Within the week, my heart went back to normal and started growing, and everything fell into place.
Så du kom aldrig igennem nogen operation?
No, nothing whatsoever concerning my heart, and it's been healthy ever since.
Yeah.
So, So that's kind of the background of my...
Hvordan påvirker det din mor, det der?
It just made her go deeper into her lifestyle, actually, and she lost custody of me by the time I was age 2. She was a drug addict, and she was cheating on my dad, and it was a tough time for them, and my mother. So I can remember when I was 2 years old. I just remember it vaguely, but I was at my mom's and her boyfriend's house, and then I went home to my dad for the weekend. And we have a Mexican tradition where we eat this Mexican soup called menudo. And you put all kinds of ingredients on it. One of them is oregano. And oregano is green. And while we're at the table with all my family, my grandmother, uncles, cousins, you name it, I said, "Oh, Mama was smoking that." And I was pointing at the oregano. And everyone started laughing. But then reality hit them. Wait a minute, she's smoking marijuana in front of our 2-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So shortly after that, she lost full custody of me, and then I never saw her again until I was a teenager. So.
Men det var jo svært at gå igennem livet, når du havde mistet kontakt med din mor.
Actually, no, because my dad was such a good dad. In fact, he was my buddy, I called him. And when he met my stepmother, who I consider my mom just as much as my biological mother, because she raised me. And they met when I was 4 and married when I was 7. So I was very blessed to have a healthy family atmosphere at a young age. There was only a few years in between where it was a bit, if you want to call it, dysfunctional.
Du sagde, at din far blev grebet af Kristus og mødt. Det vil sige, så var du også med på for eksempel kirkelige møder og gudstjenester.
Yeah. We lived in the church. My dad was, he was involved in prison ministry, and biker ministry, where he was a pastor to them, reaching the Hells Angels. And he has so many stories of going into the prison and meeting these hard guys that have life sentences, and they were able to go into their jail cells personally and pray for them and bless them. So loads of stories. One, I remember he was so busy with this lifestyle, he always had to find a babysitter for me. And one time he asked the Christian biker guys if I could hang out for an evening with them. So we were outside, and they were having a bonfire with all their bikes and just playing worship music. And one of the biker guys says, hey Manuel, have you ever been on a Harley Davidson? And I just, no. He's like, you want to go for a ride? And I'm like, yeah. So I was a little kid. He was a big dude. So he wrapped me around in his leather jacket, and my head was just popped out of the jacket, and we were just riding. I can just remember the wind blowing in my face, and it was just that type of lifestyle for the longest time.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Utrolig spændende for en lille dreng.
Yeah,
det må man sige.
Very exciting.
Ja. Men så udviklede livet så selvfølgelig også for dig. Du sagde, at du var en teenager, du kom i kontakt med din mor igen.
Yes.
Hvordan var det så?
That was a very big turning point. Just before that, we were having some troubles in the family. My dad was commuting to work 3 hours one way, so 6 hours driving and 8 hour. So he'd come back, and our lifestyle changed. We weren't involved in church so much. And my parents sat me down one evening and said, your dad has something to tell you. And he ran into my mother's cousin, and her cousin said that, hey, Gilly's doing well. My mother's name is Gilly. Gilly's doing well, and she's been clean off of drugs for 3 years, and she has a daughter. And so when they first told me that we know where your mother is and she's been doing good, would you like to meet her? I said no. I had no desire to meet her. I had my family. I was happy. But then when they said that I had a sister, then my eyes opened, and I was, okay, I would like to meet my sister. And in doing that, I had to meet my mother. Yeah. So I met her when I was 16 and a half, going on 17.
Ja. Du ønsker noget musik, og vi tager måske lige det første her, så laver vi lige et summary bagefter.
Ja, det var en sang som det yngste, det var United Pursuit, Simple Gospel. Jeg vet.
I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord.
Det var Simple Gospel, og sangeren her sanger kallas Simple Gospel, og det var jo en bok som heter United Pursuit som sang.
Og her i stående har vi vita av Manuel Delgado, som nu er kommet førjar og arbeider ute i Philadelphia. Der kommer vi alltid til. Han har tås oss ikke om sitt liv. Han har tås om sin familienkjønse. Pappa hans har vært i et land av Vietnamkrigen og vært en militærmaur. Og pappa hans har fann så ved til Jesus. Og gjør en invitasjon, han får en kyrkje. Og mamma han sa at han måtte døy da han var nøyføring på grunn av hjertefeil med at til hente, vekkene bøn fra papaen. Og så at han overlevde. Og så mamman får så ut i imiske stoffmisløsle. Og han fikk så nå kommer mamma og papen gifte seg at da han var tjej. Og så løsene utviklet han så løy papen gleiser besynte borste fra da kristne løyve vekkene arbeid så da vi kom her til at vi skulle så spille Manuel hva så hente settene. Manuel, din far fikk et nytt arbeid og begyndte at 3 timer til arbejde, 3 timer tilbage igen. Uha. Godt ikke mig. Men altså, og så skete der en skifte i din familie, og du begynder altså at få kontakt med din mor igen. Du sagde, at du kom dertil, hvor du sagde, at nu fandt du ud af, at du også havde en halvsøster. Og så blev du virkelig interesseret i at få møde din mor igen, og den her nye søster, som du nu havde fået.
Yeah. And like I said, there was a change, like you just said right now. There was a change in the atmosphere at the house. And when I met my mother, I felt, I can look back now and I could feel that it was a rebellious spirit in me going on. And I reflect back and I could see that my relationship with Jesus was dependent on my father's. And when there was a change in our lifestyle from being in church every day to only going on Sundays, wow, I forgot about Jesus, and I didn't even know that I forgot about him, you know? And then it just opened the doors for all kinds of other influences in my life. It started off with just, running away from home out of attention to going to parties, coming back late, and then finally drugs came into.
Det var sådan en glidebane, der blev, og farten blev større og større og større.
Yeah, very, very big. And I got into so much trouble. I was stealing cars and vandalizing, and I was just a wreck, and I didn't even realize it, you know. I just thought I think I was just doing it for attention. Now that I look back at it, but yeah, and I wasn't a good influence on my siblings. I was the oldest of 4, and it was just very dysfunctional. I was in and out of school, so finally, the day after my 18th birthday, my father said, "Okay, pack your bags. It's time for you to move out. You're an adult."
Var det et chok?
It was a total shock, because he told me before that that's what was going to happen, and I'm like, yeah. You can't. You're my dad. You can't do that to me. He sure did.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say, good luck with life. He drove me to where my uncle was living, and they had an apartment for me, a 1-bedroom. I had to share the other rooms with offices for their businesses. So I had this little room that I had to live in after the age of 18. And I had no driver's license, no job, no bank account, nothing. So it was a really, really tough time. And for nearly 10 years, off and on, it was a roller coaster of a ride in my life, from being addicted to drugs to getting off, to getting my life together on my own strength, going to school, college, dropping out, in and out of relationships, in and out of different jobs, you name it. I went through it. Finally,
Og Jesus, han var stadigvæk langt væk.
He was. I always believed in him. I never ever denied.
Altså, hvis nogen spurgte, tror du på Jesus?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yes.
I would say yes. And I can still remember my dad reading to me at nighttime before we go to bed from the book of Psalms. So every now and then I'd pick up a Bible, really dusty Bible. And I always had a Bible in my house, and I would read the book of Psalms. Made no sense to me at that time because I was, I was blind spiritually.
Men du blev ved med at læse.
Yeah, but I still read every now and then. Every now and then.
Yeah.
But the last 3 years is when my addiction and lifestyle became worse. You know, it says in the Bible that you clean up your house, but you don't allow the Spirit to come in. You don't allow Jesus to come in here. So the spirits that left you roam around, and they come back and they see that you're nice and clean and vacant. So it goes and gets 7 other friends. And so the issues and the problems that you had before are 7 times worse every single time. And I can remember 3 distinct times in my life where I cleaned up my life and I was good for a year or 2. And then drugs and that lifestyle came back around, and my value system went down even further.
Når du siger drugs, hvad det så for nogle stoffer, du snakker om?
Well, I experimented as a older teenager and in my younger 20s, anywhere from I started off with LSD and marijuana, cocaine and methamphetamines were the ones that I did the most.
Det var simpelthen hele viften, næsten hvad der sker, hvad der eksisterer.
Yeah. It was really, really gone back then.
Det er ikke sådan, når du siger, jeg vil gerne have det fastlagt, for det er ikke bare sådan, når man siger, lidt hash i weekenden eller sådan noget.
No.
Det er slet ikke sådan noget. No. Det er langt mere.
Yeah. I started off very strong. I can remember, I tried to be good and follow my parents' rules. They were very strict. My dad was a military man. So I had to be home by 9 o'clock on the weekends. I was allowed one phone call a day for 15 minutes, and I had to be in front of them. It was a very strict lifestyle. So my friends, we went out to a party. Back then I didn't do drugs, and I came back 15 minutes early, and I sat down in the den where my parents were reading. And I just sat there with a big smile looking at the clock. And my dad, with his book over his nose, he brought it down just so I could see his eyes. And he said, "What are you smiling at? Are you high?" And he really meant it. "Are you on drugs?" And I was like, "What? I don't even know what drugs are. And you're accusing me of it."
Yeah.
And it just really scarred me, hurt my feelings in a big way. So the very next week, I knocked on my neighbor's door to see if he could come out and play. And his big brother was in town with his friends from Los Angeles. And they were having a house party. The parents were gone. And as soon as the door opened, a big cloud of marijuana smoke came out. And I smelled that, and I saw like towers of American beer all over the place. And he said, "Do you want to come in?" And I thought about what my dad said to me last week, and I said, well, if he thinks I'm doing drugs, I might as well try it.
Mm.
And I never looked back since, and that was the 10 years of craziness.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Det er også ofte mit indtryk, at når vi er ude på den her kant der, så er det en lille simpel afgørelse, som beslutning, som pludselig, og så glider det.
Mm-hmm.
Og det
Everything has consequences, whether we like it or not. Good consequences or bad consequences. And this one, I had no idea what door I was opening when I made that decision. How could I? You know, it wasn't planned out.
Ja.
So
tilbage til hvor du så møder din familie.
Yeah. So like I said, 10 years off and on of this lifestyle. And then you asked me what kind of drugs I was doing. The last 3 years was the worst time. I was addicted to methamphetamines, and I was selling drugs, and I couldn't hold a job. And it was really, really bad. I stood away from my family. I didn't want to be around them because I didn't want them to see me like that. And the last 6 months of these 3 years, I was moving from apartment to apartment. Finally, I was homeless, living on the streets in a city called Long Beach. And my addiction became more expensive than what I was selling. And the local gangs in that neighborhood were trying to kill me. So I was running for my life. All of this just hit me all at once. So it was really, really scary. I called home a few times, but asking for money and buy me get me a hotel, something. And they said no. And what I didn't know is they were showing me tough love because they were praying for me every single day. And so I can remember one of the last nights in this lifestyle, homeless, running for my life. Me and a friend stole a car, and we were driving around house to house trying to sell drugs just to get some money. And the last house we went to was a family that we had business with. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was the mother, father, and their 2 sons, aged 6 and 4. And we sold them their drugs, and they asked us to stay and do it with them. And we said, sure, why not? So we started doing the drugs, and I looked around in this atmosphere, and these 2 boys were playing, having a good old time, watching their parents and friends do drugs in front of them. And something just clicked in my head. And I freaked out. I jumped up off of the chair, and I ran outside like I was going somewhere. And I went out to the middle of the street, and what am I doing with myself? And I had nowhere to go, so I just went into the backseat of that car and was just crying and reminiscing. God put a memory on my mind about when I was a kid with my mom, and we were at the doctor's for a family visit, and there was a waiting room, and there was a board to draw on. And this is when I was on fire for the Lord because my dad was. And so I told all the kids, hey, come here, I want to draw you something. And all the parents of their kids are looking at me weird. What is he going to draw for them? And I said, come here. And I drew on the board the planet Earth, and I wrote on top of it heaven and on the bottom hell. And then I turned to them, "Where do you want to go?" And they're like, "I don't know." They started crying. The parents started pulling them away. "Get away from that boy."
Yeah.
And I was in the backseat of that car thinking that memory, just laughing and crying at the same time. And when reality came back, I said, "Hey God, if you're listening, I need your help. I'm so tired. Please help me." And he met me.
Mhm.
He met me there.
Ja. On the back seat. På bagsædet af bilen.
Mm-hmm.
Ja.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went to sleep in that car, woke up the next morning, found another place to hide for 3 days, and just slept and allowed the drugs to come out of my system. And on the third day, I got up, kind of a Jesus thing, huh? I got up on the third day and went outside, and I had 2 decisions to make. God was saying for me to call home. I kept on hearing him say, "Call home, call home." And I was thinking, no, I want to go to my drug dealer's house and get some drugs because I need them. And it was the middle of the day, and so just to shut God up because he was bugging me about calling home. He said, "Call home." So I called home. I said, "No one's going to be home. Everyone's at work." I called home, and my dad was home. He had a doctor's appointment, and it was canceled. So he was just at home having lunch, and then he was going to go back to work. And he answered the phone. And I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. And he said he could hear that it was me. He heard my breathing, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Son, is that you?" And I said, "Yeah. Dad, can you help me? I want to come home."
Der vidste han, det var det ægte var.
He knew I was ready.
Ja. Ja.
He came and got me.
Ja.
Yeah.
Det vil sige, det var virkelig turning point, som hedder på engelsk. Der skete virkelig noget der på bagsædet af bilen, som førte til, at du kom tilbage til din familie.
God's presence was in that car.
Ja.
It was amazing. So when he picked me up, he said, "Hey, your mom wants to see you. She misses you."
Ja.
So we went to go visit her for lunch, and we went out to eat. And while we were eating, my dad was like, "Oh, we got our son back. We're going to get his life together and find him a job." And I interrupted my dad. I yelled at him. You don't yell at a military man.
Oh.
But I did.
Yeah.
And I said, "Dad," I said, "please shut up." I said, "If you allow me to stay at your house, I'll rob you because I need professional help." And my mom's sitting across the table, and she's laughing. This whole time she's laughing at what I'm saying. And I turned to her and I said, "Mom, I'm sharing the truth. Why are you laughing?" And she's like, "Son, me and a group of ladies have been praying for our sons for the past so many years, every Wednesday. 2 weeks ago, God spoke to me in the prayer time and said, 'Get ready, your son is coming home.'" And that's all he said to me. So I found a place through a friend called Teen Challenge. And I called them and told them that my son's coming home, and they said, "When?" And I said, "I don't know." And they said, "Okay, well, let's pick this date, and we'll have an interview for him ready, just in case he comes home." And son, that interview is tomorrow. And I'm like, how did you know I was going to come home today and have an interview for me tomorrow?
Yeah.
And it was just amazing the way God was working to do this transition in my life. It was overwhelming, and God was just so real and big for me. Yeah.
Du har ønsket en sang igen. Den tager vi her, så slutter vi. Har vi den klar, tror Arne? Er det klar?
Ja. Det var Good Father til House Fires. Vi tar her sang som heter Good Father og til House Fires som Sinja.
Og her stående her, vi så vidt av Manuel Delgado, han greier sin til fra sin løyve, og han kom ut i missnösle i imenskon stoffon, og kanskje drog han heit ut, jeg tutjar heit ut av åttaste marsk. Men et kvalitet så at han av jaktstabbe av imenskon gangster og så videre, og om han missa løyve, så et kvalitet møtte god han og bergsetter en bil, hver han så vakna og han føler god seg hvis ringheim og familien teker mot honom, og det viser seg alt gjørs til reia av herren at han kommer til å samle i det såkalte Teen Challenge. Manuel, Teen Challenge. David Wilkerson. Ja, og en organisation, der hvis verdensomspændende. Ja. Det ikke for mig sagt, men jeg tror, den i mange lande.
It's all over the world.
Ja. Og det en organisation, som begyndte, fordi David Wilkerson så elendigheden. Han kom fra et lille miljø ude på landet, og han kom, Gud sendte ham ind i New York, og han så, hvad der virkelig skete derinde med stoffer og så videre, og så videre. Og Gud talte til ham, at du skal begynde noget nyt. Og han begyndte lagde så grundstenen under Teen Challenge, og andre tog sig over. Og det var den organisation, som du fik en samtale med.
Yeah. Like the name is Teen Challenge. So when David Wilkerson first started, he was reaching teens, but he realized that there was, all ages needed help. So it's actually mainly for 18 and over. Only some places have it for teens because there's different laws and stuff like that. But yeah, so my mom found this program, Teen Challenge, for me. And it was a spiritual boot camp, if you want to call it, discipleship program. I went into this program as a 1.5 year long program, free. It's survives by donations.
Du skal ikke betale noget overhovedet?
Nope, I paid nothing for it.
Okay.
And it has the highest percentage cure rate, 85% cure rate, which means that they did a study 5 years after people have graduated and did the whole program, that they're still living successful lives 5 years after. 85% rate. Nowhere in the world does any other program come close to that. And it's a faith-based program. It's the Jesus in it.
Var du langsomt begynder at tænke helt anderledes, end du har gjort før? Begynder at Jesus kommer ind i centrum,
yes.
Og de andre ting begynder stille og roligt. Og som Paulus siger, du forandrer din måde at tænke på.
Yes.
Tillader Jesus at komme ind.
Amen, yeah. So I learned, I built a new foundation for my life there and learned who I was in Christ, that we're no longer a slave to sin, but that we're children, sons and daughters of the King of Kings, royal priesthood. All of those wonderful things found my gifting and calling in life during this time. And it was during this time that a gentleman from Denmark, actually, Jens Henrik Kirk, he's a forstander at PVE, ME. His father is Paul Kirk, which started most of the schools there. And he was doing a pratique internship, which he needed to study some sort of social work, and he chose Teen Challenge. And he found himself in Southern California. He needed a student to follow, and the director at that time, Dennis Griffith, chose me for him to follow around. So this Danish guy followed me in my classes and all the outreach and ministry work I was doing. And we built a really strong friendship. And he invited me after graduating if I wanted to come to Denmark for a short-term mission trip and see what they're doing out there, what God is doing out there with the young people. Because I've always had a heart for young people. I want to be a person that prevents. I love helping people in their problems, but why not develop an environment that prevents them to go into those problems? Give them a strong foundation. So I came out to Denmark in 2004, September, for a short-term 3-month mission trip, which turned into a 10-year short-term mission trip.
Sådan kan det ske, ikke? Det pludselig bliver du fanget.
Yeah, it was funny.
Herren lokkede dig. Du vidste det ikke.
I had no idea. I was thinking I would be a missionary in like Latin countries. I know a little bit of Spanish. I could brush up on it. I'm dark hair and I could tan easily. But where does he send me?
Yeah.
To a country where people are more beautiful than I am, taller and smarter. Some say, at least. Anyways, So yeah, 10 years in Denmark, and it's just been such a wonderful journey and growing experience for me. 6 years, I believe, into being in Denmark, I met my wife, Sanna, who's Faroese.
Ja, det er jo yderst farligt at møde de der færøske kvinder. Jeg kender til det der.
That's right, you're Danish married to a Faroese. How funny. Yeah. She moved to Denmark. We got married about a year later, and lived in Denmark doing ministry together for 3-4 years, and then got a call to come to the Faroe Islands and to help with the church here in Tórshavn, Philadelphia.
Ja.
It's the church that Sanna grew up in.
Ja,
Så.
og noget helt nyt igen.
Mm-hmm.
Og hvordan føles det at komme her og blive ungdomspastor i Philadelphia?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. If you were to ask me a year before, 2 years before coming out here, that I was going to come here, I would deny it. I loved coming to the Faroe Islands. It's beautiful here, and the people are wonderful. Same type of hospitality that I'm used to, like in America. But I didn't have a calling for here, and I thought I would be bored. What's there to do? And the minute that Thomas and me and Sanna sat together and he shared his heart, I felt something for the Faroe Islands. And we waited 8 months before coming out. And during that time, the Faroe Islands just grew on me, and it's been so exciting to be here. And it's tough, but it's very exciting. And you know when you're in God's direct plan, because he shows you supernatural fruit from the work that you're doing, because it's his work that you're co-workers with. We're co-workers with him, the Bible says. And when you do that, one plants, one waters, but he does the growth. And we're already seeing growth in an amazing way in our church, and also here on the Faroe Islands.
Ja.
So.
På engelsk hedder det, God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does.
Det kan du skrive under på.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that, because he doesn't have mysteries from us. He has mysteries for us.
Yeah.
And when you're just so dependent on him and his wisdom and understanding of how to use that wisdom, those mysteries, revelations become so natural to you that you're like, of course it's supposed to go this way.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have known that before.
Manuel, du har meget på hjertet, og desværre bliver vi nødt til at slutte nu.
Yes.
Men vi kan jo godt fortsætte en anden gang med nogle måske mere konkrete emner. Nu har vi hørt om dit liv, fantastiske liv,
Thank you.
som Gud planlagde i detaljer, hvor du slet ikke troede, han var der overhovedet. Men det lille råb, den aktive side for dig, det lille råb på bagsædet af bilen, hjælp mig Gud, det var nok. Der skulle ikke mere til. Så skete der noget igen. Ja, og du er der, hvor han vil have dig at være, siger du. Og det er jo spændende. Det er spændende for dem, der er i kirken derude, og spændende for alle færinger, som kommer at være en del af det her, hvor du er en planlagt i den proces, som Herren har lavet for dig, og for Færøerne i det hele taget. Ja. Så tak, Manuel, at du vil komme.
Thank you for having me.